Hello and welcome to another ARC review video. It has been a while since I uploaded one. I have had a cough that would not leave me alone for 2 weeks. But now I feel a lot better. I can actually talk without bursting into coughs. And while I was not feeling all that great, what did I do? I played Skyrim and I did read, which is what we're doing today. This is an ARC review of the Legend of Gasparilla by S.T.Fernandez. This is a brand new novel, and the author and a few others describe it as where Bridgerton meets the Pirates of the Caribbean. And as I adore Pirates of the Caribbean and have been unable to sit my appetite for pirate stories for at least the last 6 months of the year, Bridgerton is my guilty pleasure. I have those books and I really like reading them. They're an easy read. But this story revolves around the legend of Jose Gaspar. I do not speak Spanish, so I'm not quite clear on the pronunciation, but fingers crossed, we'll be alright at it. And he was a notorious Spanish pirate who terrorised the seas around the Gulf of Mexico and Florida kind of area. A real person. So he has a whole history up on the internet and it is really interesting to read. Like I said, this is an ARC review. I got this ARC for free. I'm not sponsored, I'm not paid. I am just giving my opinion on a book that is coming out. And you are just here listening to me. So thank you very much. I appreciate every single one of you. Now, the first chapter sets everything up really nicely. We begin with the point of view of Lieutenant Lawrence Kearney, captain of the USS Enterprise and a notorious and feared pirate hunter. Now, the moment it said USS Enterprise, I immediately thought Star Wars, Star Trek. We're barely a few minutes in and I've managed to offend 2 complete fandoms. So this is going to be absolutely fantastic. So this man is practically a bloodhound going after pirates, and Jose Gaspar was his great beast to be slain. But he cannot ignore the niggling little thought that everything that happened with them was not quite as it seemed at the time. There's a little itch that won't be scratched. And here he is trying to scratch that itch, because he believed that he himself had sent Jose Gaspar to the depths of the ocean, never to return. And this happened decades previously, so why is it taking him so long? It's never really gone through, because if you were having a niggling itch thought like this, then surely you tried to do something about it earlier. But we'll go with it. So he is here because there has been recent pirate raids. They've upped the ante, they're a lot more active, and they all bear the signature of Jose Gaspar. But that is ridiculous because Kearney saw him go in the ocean decades ago. So of course it can't be him. Or can it? There are way too many similarities, and so Kearney shows up at Jose's widow's house, Josefa's house on the pirate island of Gasparilla, named after the guy he sent to the depths of the ocean. And what Kearney finds there in this house leads to his demise by none other than at the hands of Jose Gaspar himself. Now you might say, why am I spoiling this? Because this is all in the very first chapter. We're barely 3 pages in and this has all happened. Now after his death, the point of view switches to Jose and his eldest son Ivan. Now Ivan believes that it is well past the time that he should be told and informed of his father's history. Can the legends about his father, his flesh and blood dad, be all they're cracked up to be? So Gaspar starts regaling his son with how everything started, and so we go all the way back, beginning with when he was an admiral in Sevilla, Spain in 1783, some 33 years previous, when he was a highly regarded consultant to the then King of Spain. A highly envious position indeed. Now this is all the first chapter. That summary was the first chapter, or first 2 chapters. but I think it was the first one if I remember rightly. And as you might have noticed, this story begins with quite a bold move from the author, whereby it begins with the end. So all elements of tension as the reader is gone. You already know that the main characters don't die, that they have their happy ending, and they are undisturbed, and that is all in the first chapter, so the story has got to be strong enough to hold the rest of it up and keep the reader engaged. And at the beginning, this story does just that. The key characters are set up really, really strongly, and the intrigue is reminiscent of the beginning of The Count of Monte Cristo, if any of you have read that one. You have Gaspar, a young gentleman with a promising naval career ahead of him, and the love of his life has just consented to marry him. He has a band of friends which are more like brothers. Now you add into this mix a jilted ex-lover who is absolutely ruthless, merciless and everything, definitely a woman scorned, and a man whose entire goal in life is to see Gaspar fall. And with those you have a fantastic Part 1 setup. It is amazing in every single little way. However, it doesn't maintain the traction that it builds itself up to. It's like it can't keep up with that. And it starts to lose itself around the middle of Part 2, which I think this is 5 parts, so it's a little bit early. And for me, it loses traction because of a glaring continuity error, at least for me. Jose finds out that the ship that he has escaped the city on is captained by the notorious fearsome pirate by the name of Captain Rogers. After 2 weeks being at sea, he finds out this guy is who this is. But when we switch back to Josefa's point of view, and they're figuring out how to get Jose back, they already know that it's Captain Rogers that they're to get Jose back from, when he's at sea, didn't know for 2 weeks and has no method of communication, because pirates aren't the best letter writers, and how are you supposed to get a letter back to Spain when you're a criminal? And that whole how they know who to get him back from is a major plot point and is completely unexplained. And it started to lose me at that point. I like my stories to be fantasy and magic and pirates and with logic. Their decisions have to be logical. Whether they be decisions of the heart, it's still, you can see why they do what they do. But when your ducks are all set up in a row and then one of them quacks off, it loses me. But that is just me. People might just be able to gloss over that fact. I am not one of them, and this is my review video. Now for me, I liked the internal struggle that Gaspar has to wrestle with, especially in the beginning when he's having to choose between his morals that he has upheld all of his life, his beliefs, everything that made him who he is, and having to reckon that with the art of survival on the ship under whose command he now finds himself. Now, like I said, I am a massive fan of Bridgerton. I really like it, and the love and longing scenes between Jose and Josefa. The scenes between those two characters are really beautifully written. But the pirate aspect, on which this is supposed to be the main focus, leaves something to be desired. Because don't forget, this is a legend of an actual person, an actual man who actually lived and was actually a fearsome pirate. And for a story that is based on this legend of this notorious scourge of the seas, the pirate scenes are wishy-washy at best. Honestly, Captain Pugwash could have done better. The action scenes are skipped over, skipped through, written way too fast for my liking, because you get pages and pages of build-up to Jose having to do these terrible things while at sea, while being a pirate, and then you get the scenes of him being a pirate which are skipped over, and then you get pages and pages of the internal struggle afterwards. What I want is the scene. I want the pirate legend becoming a pirate legend. That's the point. It's in the title. It's a legend, and it doesn't get there. Basically, I wanted a swashbuckling pirate legend, sword in the guts on the floor, blood sprayed up the deck, people walking the plank, people drowning, heads chopped off, bits of limbs flying everywhere, proper pirate stuff. And instead I get Edward Cullen on a boat. Not a fan. Battles were skipped through, and the time that you get, there's so many time jumps in this that are unnecessary, and the time jumps are what I feel were necessary. The times were necessary not to be skipped, because that is where you get Jose being a pirate captain and becoming a legend, becoming the man who this book is about, and all of that is glossed over. So you get him taking over a ship, and then it's time jumps to him being a notorious legend of the seas. And you don't get what happened in between, which is the story. But I'll calm down. The many antagonists of these were too hastily set up and then too easily dispatched to be a proper, rival. They were just easily gone. And for this, you need that counterbalance. You don't get the satisfaction of Gaspar versus Kearney or versus Rogers, and it's all skipped over. And what would carry the story, because you already know the outcome, because it was put in the first chapter, all the intrigue is missing. All the good bits are missing. It plods along, but it's not a juggernaut. For me, Kearney was especially disappointing. This man is supposed to be some fearsome, notorious pirate hunter, that pirates are scared of, and in the first chapter, that is what we get. That is the character that we get. But everything after that is, every scene that guy is in after that chapter is boring. And for your main antagonist, that is the worst thing possible. That your antagonist is boring. And events in the last 2 parts to this book feel incredibly rushed. We've had all this build-up and they are rushed through. And even the ending, the one that we're teased with right at the beginning, so we know that this big battle is coming, that Jose must fake his own death to get away from this guy, who is boring. The ultimate showdown between Gaspar and Kearney on this boat, this big pirate battle, barely lasts 30 seconds before he's jumping off the side of the ship. So, for me, this book gets 3 stars. It is middle of the road. I've read a few pirate books in the last 6 months of this year, and some are way up at the 5 stars. A few of them are down at the 1s because they were just diabolically bad. But this one, it had such a strong beginning and fell away at the end. I feel that there's nowhere else to put it except slap bang in the middle of 3 stars. Because the writing had so much potential. It just didn't get there. It didn't execute itself properly. But that might be me. Because ultimately I was left wanting more. I wanted more blood. I wanted more death. I wanted high stakes. Which for me the book had to have, because you already knew the ending at the beginning. So there had to be some high stakes in the middle of that. And it just wasn't there. But if you want to check this book out, it is not a bad book. It's just not the greatest. It is just my opinion on, you can have a check out of it on Goodreads. Follow my profile. Shameless self-promotion. But yeah, check it out on Goodreads. It has some 5-star reviews. I'm sort of in the middle. Read it, see if you like it. If you like pirates, you'll probably like it. If you like blood, guts and gore, like me, you probably won't that much. So that is all I have for you today. Please like this video, click that subscribe button, and as always, keep reading.